you, and you are welcome to Omega TV studio here in Walthamstow, London. Yeah, so I'll let you introduce yourselves, starting with you. Yeah, just say your name and what you do, really.
Okay, thank you very much, Winnie, and thank you for having us. My name is Angelina Namiba, and I am a founder member of a charity called the Forum Network of Mental Mothers Living with HIV. I do project management, public speaking,
I
training,
think we'll speak.
you name it.
Yeah, yeah. Project management.
That's my title.
Oh, okay. So you are a project manager.
I am.
Right. And then...
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is also Winnie.
Yes.
So, but my full name is Winnie Sanyuseruma,
Right.
and I am an international development consultant, and my work really focuses on monitoring and assessing community health and social enterprise projects, mostly in Africa.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. So, ladies, the topic we chose for tonight is African women living with HIV. And we want to see how you are changing the narratives by celebrating the African contribution to the UK HIV response. What a juicy topic. I couldn't wait because, I mean, I am not in tune really with what is going on with HIV, at least not in the recent times. But years ago, I was involved in at least looking after patients living with HIV. But we've come a long way. We really have come a long way, isn't it, from when HIV came into force as a disease worldwide. Can we start? And I know we will be going into how we will change the narratives, but then maybe let's throw back, because most of us probably have lost touch with how HIV happens and all that. What really is HIV?
Wow. Anyway, HIV is a virus that people can pick up in different ways. I'm hoping that at least a lot of people know how you can get HIV through probably sleeping with somebody who is HIV positive and not on treatment.
And not on treatment.
That
and that's
is
the
really
emphasis now. Yeah?
That is the emphasis now. Also, it is important to know that people can get that through blood transfusion, but that's very rare, through infected blood. But blood in this country is treated before it's transfused. But before, people could get it like that. And there are a couple of other different ways that I'll let Angelina talk about, because she's a professional with those particular
in that department.
Oh my
Yes.
word, you flatter me. But just in case people don't even know what HIV stands for, it's the human immunodeficiency virus. Yeah. It is a virus that people can get. As Winnie said, if somebody is living with HIV and not on treatment. But going back to your question in terms of how far we've gone, before, in the late 80s, early 90s, we didn't have effective treatment that we have now. So now we've gone such a way, we've made lots of strides so that we have anti-HIV treatment, which means if somebody takes the medication, we've got this concept called U equals U. Yeah. Which means undetectable is untransmittable. So somebody living with HIV who's taking the medication properly as advised and maintains and achieves an undetectable viral load, which means your virus is well controlled, they can now no longer pass it on, say for example sexually, right? And also that concept also works because it means that parents who want to have babies can actually have babies born without HIV if they're taking their medication through pregnancy and after delivery as well. So we've come a long way. Yeah. The key thing is to be able to test, to know your status, then you can do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many viruses, isn't it? And when you live in a place like in the UK, definitely come winter, there will be an encounter with one virus or the other. Why is the HIV virus such a problem? Why has it been so difficult to manage, especially on the African continent? And I say that because, I mean, recently in Ghana, according to the Ghana Health Service, there's an increasing number of HIV cases, and it's very alarming, because I think the knowledge is not quite there yet. And it will interest you to know that I watched some programs coming into this just to get a bit of knowledge, and it looks like the southern African countries seem to be doing much better when it comes to managing the whole crisis with HIV. But unfortunately, I don't think Ghana is doing the same, or I could be very wrong, but I'm going based on the information that has been released recently, the alarming way. So what are the other countries doing that they can even talk freely about HIV/AIDS? Because trust me, I am almost certain that we couldn't possibly have this conversation with two Ghanaians. I don't think.
So maybe I'll start and then I'll hand over to Winnie.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to be able to say that it's not difficult to manage, because in terms of managing HIV, we have the treatment, we have the interventions to do it. I think one of the things that makes it a bit challenging for people is about the information, the stigma, the misinformation that's around there. A lot of the sub-Saharan African countries were affected by HIV many years ago. And so we've had a lot of time to get used to the virus being there, but also many more people talking openly about it. So many more people know about it. And we've got also role models who are out there speaking openly about it and showing that actually the story has changed. And so where people can see other people living with HIV out there living their lives, it kind of changes the narrative a little bit more. So I think more information, less misinformation, and just making sure that people are aware of how far we've gone. But I'm sure Winnie has more to say on that one.
I can certainly add a little bit to that. And I think if you're not working in the area of HIV, or you are not personally affected by HIV, you would think that people don't have these conversations.
Right.
But people do have these conversations, because we
encounter,
we encounter people every day, who are living with HIV, who have lived with HIV for a long time. I have lived with HIV for 35 years. So there are a lot of people having conversations about HIV.
Yeah.
In terms of the question you asked, why Southern and East African countries are now able to deal with the issues better, there's been a lot of investment within these countries because they were very affected in the very beginning. They were the most affected countries. So there's been a lot of investment over the last 40 years, believe it or not. HIV has been with us for more than 40 years.
Yeah.
And even some people would say even more. But the 40 years that we've been dealing with it, investing a lot of money, people on treatment, testing, all of those different things. So it is, we've started to see a lot of changes within these different countries. But I'm afraid in Ghana and some West African countries, they are still not at the same level as East Africa and Southern Africa, because as they say, they might have been a little bit behind in terms of HIV awareness and knowledge. And I think that's part of the reason that...
I see. So the investment, is it coming from who? Is it the World Health Organization, or where does the investment come from? Or is it the particular countries that are investing or taking more time to look into that area?
It's been a partnership, most of the funding definitely comes from the West, from America, from Europe, from, different parts. But of course in partnership with the countries themselves, because you can, put all the money that you want, towards HIV. But if the work is not going on the ground, nothing will change. So a lot of organizations, a lot of NGOs have been doing a lot of work, even in a lot of different places, in remote areas of different countries. Organizations have been supported by, different foundations from Canada, for instance, and a foundation that I work with, invests a lot in, in people living with HIV, supporting them, and, supporting their economic needs, because many, were stopped from working because of the stigma attached to HIV. So there are a lot of different things that are going on.
Yeah.
And I think maybe just to add on that, also the countries, the different countries of themselves, health ministries, etc., have also obviously put a lot of work into it, because they have lots of voluntary testing services, you know. So it's, as you're saying, it's in partnership with donors, but also with in countries as well.
I see. Right. I think I mentioned earlier that this seems to be a different kind of infection from some of the other viral infections. So I know from experience on set that a lot of the patients who come seem to know, they are expert practitioners almost in the conditions that they have. And I really love that, because from an African point of view, or at least where I come from, people hardly know what is going on with them. But it's a different situation here. In UK especially, when anyone has a condition, they want to know everything about the condition. How is the cycle within the person who suffers the condition, the virus itself? What does it do in the human being that makes it so difficult to manage without treatment?
So I'm definitely not a doctor. And I think one of the things to say is just, I mean, it's a virus which, maybe I just explain quickly what it does. It's a virus that attacks the immune system, right, if you think about it. And the immune system is what protects us from getting things like colds, and, you know, I mean, you're a nurse, you can tell us that. So, I mean, that's what it is. And if you think about it, it's like a vicious cycle. It attacks the cells that keeps you strong. And then if you don't have medication, those cells replicate and your immune system gets weaker and weaker and weaker. So the minute you take medication, that process stops happening and your immune system builds itself up, and then you get better. Right. So I think, but it seems very simple to explain it that way. The key thing is around testing and knowing. Once you start taking treatment, even however ill you would be, if you start taking, and that's why we say now people live with HIV. We don't say AIDS anymore, because AIDS is a collection of illnesses that somebody can get
eventually
when the immune system is compromised without treatment. So people live with HIV. So as long as you get tested, you start your treatment, all being well, you can more or less just live your life like anybody else. Right?
Really, you said you suffered this condition about 35 years ago.
I was diagnosed 35 years ago.
How was that like?
It was difficult, because at that time there wasn't that type of treatment that we have now. So that at that time, which was like in 1988, there was no living with HIV. There was just dying with it. So it was really, really difficult.
And that's the difference, isn't it? Now we are talking of living with HIV, then it was just one
exactly.
route.
It was difficult. It was difficult to get support. It was difficult to deal with it. The stigma was unbelievable. And don't ask me how I've survived this long, because sometimes I just don't know sometimes why I'm still here, and some others didn't. But it also depends on where you are, you know, how you're dealing with it, what kind of support you get, how you embrace that support. There are a lot of different things that might go on. But I feel like I was in the right place at the right time. Being here in the UK.
So were you in the UK at the time?
I wasn't living in the UK at the time, but I was still not living in Africa either. So I was somewhere where I could, get support from, and I was able to work my way through the different issues. But there were times when I almost lost my life because I got opportunistic infections, because I wasn't on treatment at the time. And so
in terms of signs and symptoms, because people will be watching and thinking, oh, I've got this, I've got that, could it be HIV, could it be that? You know, in terms of your own personal presentation, what sort of signs and symptoms at the time led to you seeking help to get even the diagnosis?
Actually, what led me to go and get tested because I didn't have any symptoms at all.
Okay.
What led me to go and get tested? I was working on a program that required me to work with vulnerable people, and I was asked to take a whole raft of tests before starting to work on that particular program as an internship after my university degree.
I see.
So through that program, I was found to be HIV positive. So it was a complete shock. I had no symptoms.
Absolutely
And
no symptom.
nothing. So it is really important for people to understand that people present differently.
Yeah.
There are people who can live with HIV for years without knowing. And unless you actually take a test, there is no other way of knowing for sure that you have HIV.
Yeah.
And that is a critical thing to actually know.
Yeah. And what about you, Angelina? What's your experience as well with it?
Well, firstly, I totally agree with Winnie. People present differently, and the only way to know is to have a test. I had hepatitis B, and that's what led my doctor to say that I should go for a test. But it's just one of the many potential indicator conditions. Some people have things like TB, you name it, when the immune system is compromised.
Yeah.
But again, I stress it's really important. The only way to find out is to test, because you could be having a kind of a symptom, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's HIV.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is to test.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you deal with the initial stages as well?
Gosh, the initial stages were, for me, they were very, very challenging, because I was like Winnie, tested at a time when we didn't have treatment, and all you saw around that time was just, people dying, people emaciated.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard for me to test, to find out that I had HIV. But I think one of the things that really helped, a couple of things helped me to cope back then, because many of us diagnosed around that time were given 6 months to live.
Wow.
That's what, for a lot of people, many people, managed to survive. But then a number of things helped me to cope. The first thing that helped me to cope was a friend of mine, just out of the blue, said to me, "Angelina, I have something to tell you." And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "I have HIV." And I
So your friend
yes,
telling you
out of the blue.
Yeah.
Because up to that point, I thought I was the only woman in London living with HIV. So when
so you were diagnosed in London?
Yes, I've been living
Okay.
here for many years. I went to university in Manchester, and I was diagnosed
Yeah.
after. So when she told me that, the first thing I did was to tell her about my status, because at that point I hadn't told anybody.
Right.
So
Not even family?
I couldn't tell them, because the way things were, it was really hard for me to say anything.
Yeah.
So when she told me, I told her, and then she took me along to a peer support group.
Okay.
And meeting other women living with HIV was what really helped me to then cope with my status and move on. But there's something else that helped me to cope as well, which I think is really important to note, is I'd said I was at university in Manchester, and I'd graduated, and I was looking for work. And so I got offered a job in almost the same week that I got my diagnosis, and I had to make a decision. Do I take the job, or do I just sit here and wait to die? And I thought, let me take the job and keep myself busy. Which then, with hindsight, one of the best decisions I made. So that also helped me to cope.
Right. And has that affected your activities of daily living or your social life in any way?
Well, I think, because for me it's been 35 years. And
that's a lifetime.
it is a lifetime, you know. It is a lifetime. You work through whatever stage you are at any given time. Of course it affects, how you relate to people, or dating. It does affect that. However, once you are able to embrace the HIV status that you have and be confident enough to talk about it, I feel that that gives you the confidence to have better relationships, educate people, and also, live a life that you want to live. But that's not always the case. There's a lot of fear. People in the communities might stigmatize you, especially in our black communities. There's still a lot of stigma within our communities once somebody says.
Even to date.
Yeah.
Even today.
But you know, the important thing is about the individual who's living with HIV, how they manage their, you know, their condition, where they get the support from, and you know, and how they go about living. But we've had to work on a lot of different policies, even in the workplace, where people were being told not to, you know, to have jobs or whatever. You know, there's a lot that has changed over, you know, the last 40 years that we've had to work, you know, through as people living with HIV, and we have had to become activists, you know, in order to be able to change some of these things.
Yeah. Right. So coming back to you, Angelina, I mean, I would imagine you were relatively younger those days. So in terms
I'm
of
still young.
Relatively. Relatively is the key word here. Relatively. And
yes, of course.
You may have been in the stage where you are dating, or, you know, or you could have been married, but you would have been young, because I guess it's been a fair few years like Winnie's as well. How challenging was it? Because I mean, if anyone who is a youth is watching today, somebody could easily recoil and never go anywhere near dating, you know. Yeah, how challenging is it? And what advice have you got, for instance, for the youth?
I think for me, it's just particularly what Winnie has said, it depends on your attitude. I think the important thing for a young person diagnosed today with HIV is to, first of all, know that you are not alone. B, it's about how you embrace life, you know.
Yeah.
If you are a beautiful young lady before, you are still a beautiful young lady. So you need to think about the fact that HIV is a tiny virus. It does not control or define who you are. And it's manageable. If you think about it in the greater scheme of things, it's only a tiny part of your life. It's about building that self-confidence, getting the support that you need. Because with or without HIV, if you're beautiful and somebody likes you, you don't change. You don't change. And in a way, it's about how you manage yourself, but just get the support that you need, and don't let anybody think that you're any less because of a virus, because at the very least, you know you have HIV, you can do something about it. That other person who's trying to make you feel any less doesn't know what they have. So it's about having confidence in yourself, believing in yourself, and knowing that it's a tiny virus. Yeah,
so it shouldn't define who you are and how you live.
No.
Right. But is that practical? Is that what we really see?
It takes time. First of all, it takes time because most of the people will tell you that when they are diagnosed with HIV, it's a shock, because as I said before, a lot of people don't have symptoms, you know, and a lot of people tend to think, you know, HIV will never affect them. You know, why? Why would it affect them? And sometimes we all underestimate our level of risk. So it is really important that, you know, at this particular time where we are, when a person is diagnosed with HIV, you know, get the support you need, get on treatment, because once you take treatment, then you cannot pass on the virus.
Right, so we can't emphasize that enough. So that brings me to the question of treatment, or the treatment pathways. What should people expect, and what treatments are there on offer? Is it different, or is everybody on the same program, or do you get what I mean? Like if you have malaria, you are likely to have chloroquine or any new brand that is on, you know, in the system at the time. Are the treatment pathways the same for everybody?
It depends. I mean, we have, okay, so when I explained about how the virus works.
Good.
So you'll find that most people living with HIV will take a combination of drugs, simply because the different drugs fight the virus at the different stages of replication. Right?
You see, I was waiting for this bit to come out. And I can't emphasize that enough, because you really need to know how the mechanics of it, so that you know why it's important to comply, isn't it, to treatment. Because if not, I mean, somebody will say, oh, today I'm not having it, I'm this, I'm that. But that is the most important.
Shall I explain a very quick graphic?
Please.
So
Thank you. Yeah.
I'll try and draw an imaginary virus,
Yeah.
right? So let's say it looks like this, and it's got the cell material and other things going on.
Yeah.
So when the virus comes in, it penetrates the cell, and then it goes in. Well, first stage goes in and tries to copy the how do you call it, the DNA of the cell, and then it then cuts itself up into little shapes and multiplies and goes out and makes many little viruses.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are different stages that the virus gets into your cell. So what the drugs do, some of them fight it here, some of them fight it there, some of them fight it there.
Yeah.
So you take a combination of drugs, which means it can fight the virus at any one stage, right?
Right.
And what happened was maybe you would take three different drugs, but now the way the drug development has gone, some medications you can get, you just take 3, all in one pill.
Okay.
So some people will take just 1 pill a day every day,
Yeah.
and that keeps the virus at bay, right? Some people may take 2 or 3, but at the end of the day, you're taking it's called combination therapy.
Yeah.
For that reason, you're taking a combination of drugs to make sure that you're fighting it at every angle.
Yeah.
But the important thing is to take your medication as advised on time by the clinician. The reason being, if you think about even when you're taking something like, what do you take for antibiotics? You're told to take it every day for 7 days or whatever. What happens is, when you take whether it's your antibiotic or whether it's your HIV medication, you take it, say, at 8 o'clock, right? And then there's enough levels of drug in your system. When it gets to about 12 hours, if it's a 24-hour one, the levels start to fall. So then you take your next dose, the levels rise again. So you're always keeping the levels of drugs a level that is, and that's why it's important to take it every day as advised. Because if you then miss a drug, it means that your protection levels are reduced. But if you take too much of the drug, you can get side effects. So you always want to be taking the right amount of drug to keep it in the right level.
Reading about it, and I think the lady who linked me up with you guys, Comfort, years ago when I started this program, she was here and we did HIV, and she talked about the viral load. I think that's everything. That's the key word, isn't it? Viral load, keeping the viral load down, isn't it? I think that's the basis for treatment. So it means that there are different treatments that people can,
they can take, because in the beginning when they were starting out, they had very few options, but as the years have gone by, lots of the drug companies have developed more and more options, which means that even if you fail on one combination, you always have another option to go to. And that's why it's so important. Just test, because whatever happens, they can always either change your drug, but there's always options to go with. And that's the beauty of it now. The science has gone so much further than we were 30, 40 years ago.
But there's also, now you can take a particular medication to prevent from getting HIV.
To prevent?
Yes.
Right.
Which
Let's
is
talk
called
about that.
which is called PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis.
Okay.
So that is also something that a lot of people might not be aware of. But
when is that given out? When do people need the PrEP? Because I guess once you have a diagnosis, you wouldn't be using PrEP. Is that the case?
Well, I'll let Angelina explain. She's dying to explain.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to clarify that PrEP is for those who are not living with HIV.
Not living.
It's like taking prevent. For example, think about when you're going to a country where you have malaria. You would take antimalarials to prevent you from getting it. So over to you.
No, you explain. So because you're very good at this.
The technical bits, right?
You're very good at it. So explain the stuff.
So it's technically just what it is. You take the medication to prevent it, and you take it before, so that if you do, you are in a relationship with somebody living with HIV who may not know, that means you're protected. So I think the best way to think about it is it's just preventive pre-exposure prophylaxis, taking medication to prevent something from happening.
Okay. Yes. And so these people who would be given the PrEP would think they have had contact with the virus somehow.
Not necessarily. It's just you can even just be taking it to look after yourself, because you don't necessarily always know your partner's status. And
really?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
or you have a partner.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. Or you have a partner who's living with HIV, but you still, you know, you are not, and you want to continue to protect yourself, depending. And also, sometimes people who are in the commercial sex business might want to take PrEP because of the kind of job that they do. So, you know, people can use it at all sorts of different levels, you know, to look after themselves. But that is something also, I think, in our communities, a lot of people don't know about. That could help people to help, you know, protect themselves from HIV and not just sit and be fearful that they might get it. There's something that people can do.
Are these off-the-counter medications at all?
You can get them from the sexual health clinics.
From the sexual health?
You can talk to your clinician, they can give it to you. And just quickly, one thing I mentioned failed to add in terms of how treatment has developed so much. Now you even have not just tablets. People can even have injectable medication that you have once every couple of months. Yes, that's how fast science has gone. Okay. But yes, if anybody is interested in taking PrEP, you can also look it up on sites
we have tablets, injectables, any other routes?
At the moment, that's what we've got. But I wanted to say, if people wanted more information about PrEP, they could have a look on the website and look for PrEPstar.info.
Okay.
They can get more information about PrEP, because we are not necessarily PrEP experts, but there's information out there. But if they wanted to take it, they can ask their sexual health clinic or their doctor.
You equals you.
Indeed.
I think that's my favorite. And I saw your photo. You had a top on that had you equals you on that. Let's talk about that. Undetectable is equal to untransmittable.
Untransmittable.
Let's talk about that, because I think that's the success story in all of this, isn't it?
I think it is important, and we've been talking about it, you know, throughout this conversation, that, you know, when you take your treatment properly, bring the viral load down to, you know, undetectable, where it can't be detected. Doesn't mean the virus has left your body, but, you know, it can't be detected in your body. Then it means if you have intercourse with, you know, with somebody, you cannot pass on the virus. And that is really, really critical for people to know. Because people get so worried. Once HIV is mentioned, you know, their mind goes everywhere. But, you know, for the, you know, the right information. But if you have the right information, there is confidence in living well, in getting the support that you need. And for us, as women living with HIV and with our friends, and I'm going to say, you know, who wrote a book about celebrating.
I will be coming to that. And before you come in with your book, I want to just commend you guys for the remarkable work you are doing, because I'm sure there will be other people living with HIV who are not at the level, you know, to let people know or to educate people. And this education is very important for people to know. So I know you ladies, it's a number of you, isn't it? How many of you have taken on this mission to educate or to form? I know you formed something. So if you just tell me about that, what has been your mission?
Well, the thing we are talking about is the book. This book. We've written a book.
Our Stories Told by Us.
Yes, this is a book called Our Stories Told by Us, and celebrating the African contribution to the UK response. The reason we wrote this book was 40 years ago, actually last year, HIV was identified in the UK. So for us, it was about commemorating the 40th anniversary of you know, HIV in the UK, and how far we've come with that. There's a tendency to always go to the challenging bits, but there's a lot of good that has happened. And we also wanted to share our stories, you know. with people who, you know, who want to know about HIV and how we manage to live our lives and all of that. And yes, there's a lot of epidemiological data that they have on us, but we are more than that data about, you know, the little virus. We have lives, you know, we have siblings, we have families, we have children. You know, there's so much more about us as people, especially in the African communities. There isn't a book like this.
There isn't.
There isn't.
Okay.
Not focusing on the African communities per se. Not in this country. There isn't. So we have more than 40 stories in this book of people living with HIV, of allies, of doctors, of nurses, you know, people who are working in the sector, you know, because we wanted to make it a comprehensive book. You know, as people living with HIV, we work with others, you know, and also the doctors and the nurses that, you know, have been treating us, have become, you know, activists, you know, advocating for us. So we incorporated their stories, you know, in this book.
I see.
So it's a really, really interesting and beautiful book to read.
Yeah. Well, it looks beautiful just by looking at it. It really is beautiful. But if anyone hasn't read the book yet, like, you will have stories in there. And what are some of the stories you have in there that you want to highlight? Your favorites, I would say.
So I think before I even highlight that favorite, I just wanted to add a couple of things to what Winnie has said and why it was really important for us to put this book together. Because oftentimes when you read about African people living with HIV, it's often the negative. You know, we are portrayed as passive, voiceless victims. But actually what we wanted to do was to change that narrative and to highlight and to celebrate our leadership, our resilience, our contribution to the HIV response over the years, together with the allies that Winnie has mentioned. But one of the really important things we also wanted to do was we wanted to tell the stories in our words, in our way, amplifying our voices. Because if we didn't tell those stories our way, somebody else was going to tell it and they're going to use their words. And so that was really important for us to be able to do that. So there are many stories, and as Winnie has mentioned, the contributors range from young people living with HIV to the not so young, like me, not so young. I'm admitting it now. But also we have, you know, men, women, people of different genders, sexualities, religions as well. So I don't know, I don't have like a particular favorite one, because I just think it's a book that you need to read. Every story is different. Every story is interesting. Every story is a journey. So I think you would just need to read one at a time.
One at a time.
I couldn't just say, but I don't know, maybe Winnie has a favorite.
No, I don't, because all of the stories are inspiring. And you can possibly learn something from each and every story. It's not a book that you read in a day or two from cover to cover. It's a book you want to put on like a table and read maybe a story a day or a story a week, just so you can actually, you know, enjoy that. But I think one of the things that I would like to, you know, to really highlight, five of us, Black African women living with HIV here in the UK, we met through support groups.
I see.
We met through support groups, through the support we got, and we became sort of like a support network for each other. You know, we are from different African countries.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, I see. So, out of interest, I'm Ghanaian.
I'm from Kenya. We're called Zouk. I'm from Kenya.
Okay.
One is from Uganda. The other three, two of them are from Zambia, and one of them is from Zimbabwe. So Africa United.
Oh wow, that's very interesting and very inspiring. So it was just purely by chance or through the networks that you came together.
It was.
You weren't friends from, you know, like work colleagues or
No, through the
Yeah.
word. But I think that's also very reflective, very much in the design and the artwork in the book. And
Yeah.
one of the co-authors, her name is Charity Nyirenda.
Yeah.
She's the one who actually designed all the artwork.
Yeah.
But every single artwork has a meaning. And I
Okay.
think I'm going to show you one which I probably think you would like. It's probably, I don't know if it's Ghanaian, I'm not sure, I could be wrong.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's very much Ghanaian.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you will
It's
know
one
what
of
that
the
means. So
prints,
every piece
Yeah.
in there is actually,
So is it symbolic?
everything is symbolic, yes.
Right. So what that particular one?
My goodness, thank God. I don't, she's the one who knows it, but I think this one she talked about how we are a community.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Next time, have her on the show so she can talk you through every single piece of artwork in the book, because I know I will not do it justice.
I know. I mean, I think one of the things for me that I really like, when she talks about the design of the book. So this bit here, this fabric,
Yeah.
for her, symbolizes the sort of the HIV as a tsunami,
Okay.
that almost threatened to engulf the world.
Yeah.
And then she has, this map of Africa,
Yeah.
with all of those different, this reflects our journeys,
Okay.
our journeys through the African continent. And then we have this map
Yeah.
of the UK in the back.
Yeah.
That, from that and all of our journeys then in the UK.
Okay.
Because this book is really about African communities in the UK.
In the UK.
And the HIV,
Right.
and the UK HIV response.
Yeah.
So it's really, for us, a passion project.
Okay.
We are invested in it. We want to use it as a tool
Right.
to continue the conversations around HIV, because some people think HIV has been sorted, especially now if there's treatment, if we can't pass it on, that HIV is, done.
Yeah.
There are still people presenting with HIV. There's still a lot of people who don't have enough knowledge on where we are at.
Yeah.
So it's really about individuals, especially in families. In families, that's where the discussions should start.
Yeah.
So that we continue to reduce not only the HIV transmissions, but also continue to reduce the HIV-related stigma.
Yeah.
Because that is also a challenge that is stopping us from actually stopping the transmissions themselves.
Right.
And just quickly to add to what Winia said in terms of stigma, one of the things we wanted to make sure with the book was that every single contributor has their photo in the book. That also goes a long way in challenging the stigma, because oftentimes people are hiding behind the scenes. So in the book, everybody who's contributed their story about living with HIV and their journey has a photograph in there.
Yeah. And I mean, even doing this, isn't it? It will be so interesting. I would really love to see if I would get one Ghanaian, just one who would love to share their story like this, So that makes me so happy to engage you guys, and the willingness to do this, and the passion you have for it. It's really unbelievable. Do you have any road shows or any other activities planned then to take this forward? Because I think it really has a good message for all, isn't it, really?
It really does. And for us, even though the majority of people living with HIV are in London.
Majority are in London?
Yes. The majority
UK?
of Africans living with HIV in the UK are based in London. We really want to go around the country.
Is that by statistics?
Yes.
Okay.
That's by statistics. But I won't get into the statistics. So I just wanted to say that we want to talk to people in the communities outside of London to find out, what's going on. We've already been to Brighton, our roadshow. We have a roadshow started in Brighton earlier this year. We've been to the UK Parliament here.
As a group of 5 to the UK, all of you,
in the Parliament in London, and that was when 7th of September, that's where we are. Our next big visit is going to be in Edinburgh and Glasgow. We are there from the 10th to the 13th of October. We are also going to be in, Bristol, in Manchester, in Birmingham, and a few other places that, the dates we haven't confirmed yet.
Yeah.
But we are definitely going to go around the country. Even we are going to go to Cardiff and Dublin.
I see.
Yeah.
So because you mentioned that you've been to the British Parliament, what typically did you actually go to do? And if you can also give us a brief overview of what a typical roadshow is for you guys. Am I coming to dance with you, or you get what I mean? Really, like, if anyone wants to be involved, like, I want to know I'm coming, there will be food, there will be dancing. Is that what to expect?
So I'm going to let Winnie handle that one. But what I wanted to say is that we're also going to have an event at the Africa Sector.
Yes.
At the Africa Center. But Winnie...
In London, is it?
Yeah.
We are going to have an event for black leaders, leaders from the black communities, or policy and advocacy staff for black health organizations at the Africa Center on the 2nd of November in the evening. Usually what we want to do is something like we are doing here. First of all, to talk to people about HIV. Say HIV is still here with us. And there are some specific goals that we need to, to meet by 2030, by 2050, and all of that. These are global goals, that are being worked on, that, we continue to reduce the transmissions, we continue to reduce the HIV-related stigma, but also to talk to people about this book, this amazing book, to continue to influence policy, around treating people, improving the medication, improving support within our communities, and improving knowledge. So it is a combination of things that we want to talk to. Yeah. Remember, I told you this is the first book of its kind. There's been nothing like it. But we want to show that we are, we are leaders. We are living our lives, and that, we've learned a lot through living with HIV and through this. And we want to share our stories, with other people to inspire them, to either, do what they need to do with their lives, that HIV doesn't have to be the end of your world. You're so much more than HIV.
Brilliant. So how can people get hold of this book?
Can I just quickly answer your question? Ask about what to expect on a roadshow.
Yeah.
So
and then Parliament.
How you can get hold of a book first, and then. So I mean, in terms of a typical roadshow, you would have the panel. You'd have depending on where we are, there would be an introduction of the epidemic in that area, but also would have if people want us to do a bit of reading from the book. And then when we had our launch, we had some wonderful drummers who came along. So there probably will be some music as well, and we can help to shape it. So I think how to get hold of a book, it's available on Amazon, or for people who prefer to go to somewhere like Waterstone, you can get it. But if you want more information, you can go on our website, which is www.ourstories.toldbyus.com. Very simple. Just Google Our Stories Told by Us. Our Stories Told by Us.com. You can get all the information there, and you can even get a link to go and purchase the book as well. Wow.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So I think we've given out a lot of information, and I am just so touched. I'm so touched. I mean, I'm always touched anyway. Yeah, especially when I have patients who want to talk, to educate others, to gain control, because we all know disease can really take you off your feet, and it can really sort of mess your life. And what better way to do it, than to have the encouragement from people who themselves are passionate about, now it's living with the condition, isn't it? Not dying anymore. So, I mean, it's so hopeful. Do you want to say anything whilst we round off? Anything you want to say, shout outs to any body, you know, any one group that you think is a particular target, let me encourage this particular group. Yeah, Angela, you know.
So I would just say that first of all, people living with HIV are people just like you and me. You know, we're mothers, we're sisters, we're friends, we're lovers, you name it.
And you have families as well.
Absolutely. And with access to treatment, to care, and to support, you can lead a healthy, fulfilling life and just go about your business like everybody else. So never give up hope, and you're not alone.
Yeah. Always remember the you equal you, guys.
Yes. I think one of the things that I would like to say is for the people that helped us to bring this book to life. Every single person who contributed a story in this book, it is, you know, we thank you for contributing the story, because the stories are inspiring. So I really would like to tell people to buy the book and read the stories. I would also want to give a shout out to Positive East. It's a support organization that you know, supported us to get this book done. So thanks to Positive East and the CEO Max Santos, and also people who funded us. To get, because it takes money.
That comes across, isn't it?
You know, who gave us grants to be able to get this book done, and who continue to support us to go on the road trip. So thank you to also one last thing. I would like to say thank you to the Terence Higgins Trust. They are a leading organization in the UK in treating, you know, in supporting people living with HIV. And they supported us with their donation to make sure that this book was, you know, put together, written, and came to light. So a lot of thanks to everybody.
And I think we should thank our main funders as well, Gilead Sciences, who without Gilead Sciences, who without the main funding, we would not have been able to put the book together. So to thank you to all of them.
Wow.
And also one last thing, to our other co-authors and co-editors who are not here today. Rebecca, Memory, and Charity. Thank you, you know, for being with us all here, in spirit, and for taking up the idea to get this book together, because without all of us agreeing to get this book out, it wouldn't have happened. So thank you.
It wouldn't have happened. And on behalf of myself and the producers of Omega TV, because obviously they give me the platform to do this job, really. I see it as a job. It's just my passion. You know, it's like a home away from home, just bridging the knowledge gap between patients and the professionals who look after them. So I've been doing this for about 3 years now, you know, engaging patients and the professionals. And so when I get people like you, it just inspires me to keep going, you know. So I want to say a big thank you to Comfort as well. I think you guys know Comfort. Yes, she sent me a message and she says hello to you all, and she was quite thrilled that we've managed to arrange it in this very short time. So ladies, I must say, unless you want to say, did you want to say something?
I want to say a special thank you to Comfort, who looked after me for a long time when I was unwell.
I see.
I want to say thank you to her as well.
Thank you for hosting us. Really, thank you very much.
It's been an honor, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing, and the work that you guys are doing is absolutely brilliant. Obviously, if you are doing any of these road shows, let me know. And if I can come around, I certainly won't miss the opportunity. So to Angela, Namiba, Charity, is it Yoranda? Memory Sakikoye, is it? Rebecca Mbewe?
Yes.
And then Winnie Sanyu Seruma, is it? Guys, you are amazing. You guys deserve accolades for all that you have been doing. I think this will go a long way to encourage a whole lot of people to know that all hope is not lost yet in the fight against HIV. So on that note, I've been your host. I'm Winnie Ohinikisi, and I bring you Let's Talk About Health. And as always, it's a pleasure to engage you all. Obviously, keep sharing. Pass it on to friends. You never know, you may be saving a life. just with the information that all these people, as many others who come, give out there to help you promote and improve your well-being. On that note, ladies, thank you for coming. Yeah, it's been great. And thank you all once again. I've seen a few of you watching. I'm always grateful. Thank you, Omega TV, for the platform. God bless. Until we see again, stay safe. Bye-bye.
And UK-based artists and more. Rate VVIP £80, VIP £60, and standard £40. Grab that tickets now.
Tickets on sale at www.gmadeuk.co.uk.
Sponsors: Tabia Company Limited, producers of Tabia Takum and Jacka 4 Bitters,
Labadi Beach Hotel,
Adongo Bitters,
Remit Choice Money Transfer,
TSF Lighting,
Combile Logistics, Ipcos Enterprise Limited, Shaxi,
Mip Live Records,
Logi Entertainment.
Proudly brought to you by Lawson Heber, producers of the Rayman Bitters and Delay Capsule, media partners Omega TV UK, powered by Alodia Promotions and West Coast UK. The 7th edition of Tabia Ghana Music Awards UK, live from Manor Park, London.